Hello, my name is Joe Hayes. Welcome to this presentation on HTML entities for BYU-Idaho's course CIT 230, Web Front-End Development. Today we'll be discussing what are entities and when and how do we use them. An entity is a code that represents a special character. For example, the copyright symbol, registered, trademark, ampersand, greater than, and less than symbols. We'll also be talking about the non-breaking space, which you can't see, but much like the wind, you can see its effects on things around it. There are hundreds of special characters that you can replace or escape with entities. Here are some of those, but we're just going to discuss the most popular ones. Now you may be asking, why can't I just type these special characters on my keyboard? Well, some characters are reserved in HTML, meaning that they have a specific purpose and function that may differ from what you'd intended in your content. For example, if you use the less than or greater than symbol signs in your text, the browser might confuse them with tags. If you want to represent these characters in your content, you should use character entities. This will help the parser to distinguish between the content and markup. Also, if you want to display certain mathematical equations on your website, entities can make the job a lot easier. Let's take a look. I'm going to use the text editor brackets to write my HTML, but any text editor will do. Now the very first thing that you're taught in HTML is that your document has to begin and end with an HTML tag. And each tag has to begin and end with these brackets. Start with the old standard hello world. Text, and then put a break in there. Refresh our browser. Okay. Now let's do a basic mathematical comparison. Let's say like 3 is less than 5, which is greater than 4. Now you can see how HTML has already started to close our tag, thinking that 5 was an opening tag. So I'm going to get rid of that. Let's do another one. 1/2 divided by 2 is less than 1/3. By using HTML entities, we can display the exact same thing without using these reserved characters, and it'll look a lot better. Let's refresh here and see what we're looking at. I want to replace these brackets with HTML entities. Now if you go to W3 Schools, you can see the entity name for a less than bracket is the ampersand, LT for less than, and then ends with a semicolon. Every single entity that you'll use begins with an ampersand and ends with a semicolon. So let's replace this less than, the ampersand, LT, semicolon. And then for the greater than, ampersand, GT for greater than, semicolon. Come back to our site and it looks exactly the same. Now, let's see what happens when we clean these up a little bit. This fraction here can be replaced with the entity ampersand FRAC, and then you'll add the numerator followed immediately by the denominator, and then your semicolon. And then this division symbol here is also an entity, ampersand div semicolon. And then 2, we're going to leave the same. Let's get rid of our less than bracket here. And then this other fraction. Just like this first fraction we did, ampersand FRAC, numerator, oops, denominator. Got too many in there. Alright, let's refresh this. Now it's changed our fractions, they've cleaned them up quite a bit. We've got this nice division symbol, which the other one looked a lot like a forward slash, so now it's much easier to look at. You may be asking, if we have to use an ampersand for every entity, what if I want to use an ampersand in my text? For example, my favorite place to get root beer is at A&W. Well, it's already recognizing this as the beginning of an entity. So, replace that with ampersand amp semicolon. And there's our A&W. Now, as I mentioned before, there are hundreds of different entities to use. Our opening and closing brackets for HTML tags are some of the most popular, the ampersand. But there are some characters that you won't even find on your keyboard. For example, the RX symbol for pharmacy, or just a plain old star, or a very simple checkbox if you wanted to add those. Let's have a look. So let's say I'm going to pull up our site here again. I want to do my RX symbol. Again, they all start with the ampersand, RX, semicolon. Oh, should have put a break in here so that I get on a different line. And let's see, we want our star. Now you notice that I'm just using words here. A lot of the entities you can use a hexadecimal description. Some of them you have to type in the decimal form. For example, for our square, I'm going to do hashtag 9944 semicolon. And that'll give us our simple empty box. So let's go back and talk about our non-breaking spaces, which the code for it is ampersand NBSP semicolon. When would you want to use something like this? Well, HTML is programmed to ignore anything more than one blank space. If you've ever tried to add extra spaces in your content, HTML will ignore them. That means if you put 10 blank spaces in your content, they will ignore the last 9. You can force those blank spaces in with this code NBSP. However, that is not the primary purpose for this entity. It was designed to keep words together in a sentence that might get separated by text wrapping. For example, this paragraph on the left. The seller can, under business law subsections 1782, offer a full refund to buyers. But paragraph 49 of the contract offers another option. It is incorrect to separate your subsection from the number and your paragraph from the number. So the proper way to do this is to use a non-breaking space to glue those words together. Let's try it out in our text editor. So here on the left I have that same paragraph, and you can see that depending on the size of your window, the text will wrap. Now if we open this up in our editor, or in our browser rather, by adjusting the size of the window, we're separating the subsection from the number. And the same thing will happen with the paragraph. We separated the paragraph from the number here. So to fix that, we come in here between our subsection and our number and add a non-breaking space. We do the same thing with our paragraph. And now, these will be glued together no matter how our window is resized. You can see that the subsection stays with the number, and the same with the paragraph and the number 49. Now, as I had mentioned before, let's copy this here. And let's say I wanted to have some space in here, in between the two sentences. Well, HTML only recognizes the one space. I can add as many as I want. Now, it's not recommended to use the non-breaking spaces simply to add more spaces into your content. The intent was to glue words together that needed to stay together. But if you just need to get a couple extra spaces in, you can get away with that. As you can see, entities are very useful little codes that can be a lot of fun. If you'd like to enter this URL into your favorite browser, you can go to W3 School's reference on many of the entities and add some into your next web page. Thanks for watching.